Hi, welcome to the International Law Virtual Classroom. This module deals with the Court of Justice of the European Union. Students open the zip file with the annexes they need for the module. The text of the module is sent to the registered students after the lecture. Article 13 of the Treaty on European Union states that the Union's institutions shall be the European Parliament, the European Council, the Commission, the Court of Justice, the European Central Bank, and the Court of Auditors. The Court of Justice of the European Union now comprises the Court of Justice and the General Court. Students stop the tutorial 10 minutes and read Article 19, first paragraph of the Treaty on European Union. Article 257 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union and Protocol 3 on the Statute of the Court of Justice of the European Union and the Rules of Procedure. The Court of Justice is a self-standing, independent court. It is not in any hierarchical relationship with the national courts as in a system of appeal. How is the Court of Justice regulated? Students stop the tutorial 10 minutes and listen to the YouTube video How the Court Works on this link. What are the competences of the Court of Justice of the European Union? What actions can be brought against a member state or against the European Union institutions? And what indirect proceedings do exist? Article 19, first paragraph of the Treaty on European Union outlines the general function of the Court of Justice, which is to ensure that in the interpretation and application of the treaties, the law is observed. In slightly more detail, Article 19, third paragraph provides that the court shall a. Rule on actions brought by a member state, an institution, or a natural or legal person. B. Give preliminary rulings at the request of courts or tribunals of the member states on the interpretation of union law or the validity of acts adopted by the institutions. C. Rule in other cases provided for in the treaties. The Court of Justice has adopted a very supranational tone in its judgment. These judgments contributed greatly not only to building a separate community legal system, but also to enhancing the supranational status of the new European legal order and constitutionality of the communities. Justice for millions of people, guaranteed by the Court of Justice of the European Union for the citizens across Europe. Students stop the tutorial 5 minutes and listen to the YouTube video How the Court Works on the link hereafter. Students explain the Court of Justice is one institution which has two distinct courts. Which courts? What is the number of judges in the respective courts? What is the difference between judges and the advocates generals? As of February 2020, the Court of Justice consists of 27 judges, 1 judge from each EU member state and 11 advocates general. The Advocate General assists the court by giving an opinion in complete independence and impartiality on the legal issues of a case to be examined in depth and by reviewing critically the jurisprudence of the court on the subject. Under Article 20 of the Statute of the Court of Justice, cases can be decided without an opinion of an Advocate General. As of February 2020, the General Court is composed of 54 judges, 2 judges per member state. Judgments of the Court of Justice are delivered in a single ruling, with no dissenting opinions. Article 2 of the Statute of the Court provides that before taking up judicial office, each judge shall, in open court, take an oath to preserve the secrecy of the court's deliberations. There is only one official set of reports of cases emanating from the Court of Justice and the General Court. These are the European Court reports, cited as ECR and preceded by the year of publication. These are published in all the official languages. Summaries of cases can also be found in the official journal, now official in the electronic version only. Full cases can be found on the Curia internet website. The principal alternative, in which cases are reported very soon after judgment, is the common market law reports. These provide reports in English of not only the judgments of the community and now EU courts, but also of cases from the national courts of member states that have considered or applied important points of community law, or which have demonstrated the attitude of the national courts to such community concepts as supremacy or direct effects. What is the general function of the court? Article 19 of the Treaty on European Union provides that the Court of Justice, including the General Court and the specialized courts, each within their jurisdiction, shall ensure that the law is observed in the interpretation and application of the treaties. The court's factual jurisdiction is determined by Article 19, paragraph 3 of the Treaty of European Union and Article 256 till 279, Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. The court's geographic jurisdiction is limited by the treaties to the area of the member states. A judgment of the court can have consequences and effects outside the geographic area. A judgment of the court to reject sanctions appeal of a Russian enterprise or citizen will have consequences and effects outside the geographic area of European Union member states. Students stop the tutorial 5 minutes and listen to the YouTube video How the Court Protects Citizens' Rights on this link hereunder. The court's jurisdiction is determined by Articles 256 till 279, Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. The court's jurisdiction can be divided in a number of ways that can be helpful in understanding what the Court of Justice does. One way is to look at the broad types of action available under Union law and adjudicated by the court. Actions taken against the member states, such as Article 258. Actions concerned with the review of acts of the Union institutions, such as Article 263. And preliminary rulings under Article 267. Students stop the tutorial 5 minutes and listen to the YouTube video Fundamental Case Law of the Court of Justice, Making EU Law Work for Citizens. National courts are obliged to apply European Union law to protect the rights of citizens and companies given to them by European Union law. This is the principle of direct effect. Where there is a conflict between national and European Union law, the latter must prevail and national laws must be set aside. This is the supremacy of European Union law. The court decided that a country can be sued by an individual in its own national courts for the harm they suffer when the country fails to apply European Union law. Together, these principles of supremacy and direct effect, reinforced by the right of citizens to hold member states to account in the national courts, are the foundations of European Union law. They ensure that European Union law works effectively and that it is the same for all citizens, no matter where they live. Students stop the tutorial 5 minutes and read Article 258 on infringement proceedings by the Commission against the Member State for failure to fulfill an obligation. Students stop the tutorial 15 minutes and read Article 259 on infringement proceedings by a Member State against another Member State for failure to fulfill an obligation. Students stop the tutorial 10 minutes and read Article 263 and Article 265 on proceedings against the EU institutions for annulment and for failure to act. Students stop the tutorial 5 minutes and listen to the YouTube video ensuring European Union institutions respect European Union law on this link. How does the court ensure that the European Union respects its own rules and law? Students stop the tutorial 10 minutes and listen to the YouTube video Why does the Court of Justice of the EU exist? On this link. When the countries and institutions that make up the EU cannot agree as to what the Union rules mean or whether the rules have been respected, who decides? Explain the procedure. Students stop the tutorial 5 minutes and read Article 267. Students stop the tutorial 5 minutes and read Article 277 till 279. Students stop the tutorial 5 minutes and read Article 340. There is no formal system of president, but the court relies on presidents to maintain consistency in its judgments. Past decisions are often cited in court. In contrast to other international organizations, from the outset, the European Union provided a much more effective control mechanism under Article 258 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union to ensure compliance with its own laws by Member States. Article 258 is the basis for Commission action against Member States for failures to fulfill obligations under the treaties. The Commission is acting under its Article 17 of the Treaty on European Union duty as the guardian of the treaties to ensure that the treaties and other European Union measures are complied with. Article 259 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union additionally provides for actions by one Member State against another Member State. Furthermore, in support of both these actions, Article 260 imposes an obligation on Member States to comply with judgments of the Court of Justice. This article now provides a system of penalties that can be imposed on Member States. Article 263 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union is the action to annul acts of the Union that are defective in some way. Article 263 provides for actions to be brought before the Court of Justice to allow it to review the validity of acts of the Union institutions. Individuals have found it very difficult to succeed. The General Court has jurisdiction to hear direct action applications brought by natural or legal persons against acts of Union institutions which are addressed to them or directly concerning them as individuals. If found to be invalid, the Court of Justice has the sole right to declare those acts void. Article 265 concerns actions against the Union organs or agencies for a failure to act and constitutes an attempt to compel the institution or institutions concerned to take action. The Court of Justice and the national courts are both involved in hearing cases in which European Union law is pleaded and upheld. Community law is to be argued before the Court of Justice and before national courts. Community law is not a matter only for the Member States. Community law also concerns individuals and gives them rights that they could argue before their own national courts. Individuals do not have to rely on the Commission to enforce and argue community law under the limited treaty provisions for this. Article 267 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union is the preliminary ruling or reference procedure by which the national courts of the member states can refer questions to the Court of Justice on matters of European Union law. The preliminary ruling procedure provides the link or bridge between the national legal system and the European Union legal system. Under Article 267, the courts of the European member states may, or sometimes must, seek a ruling from the court on the interpretation of all forms of European Union law, including the treaties and protocols, international treaties, the Charter of Fundamental Rights, general principles, and even non-binding acts such as recommendations and opinions, and on the validity of all forms of European Union secondary legislation and other acts. The Court of Justice stressed that a member state is liable for damage caused to individuals as a result of a breach of European Union law by a decision of a national court. A decision by the national court adjudicating at last instance may constitute a sufficiently serious breach of European Union law capable of giving rise to that liability only where by that decision that court manifestly infringed the applicable law or where that infringement takes place despite the existence of well-established court case law on the matter. Students stop the tutorial 10 minutes and read Article 268 and Article 340 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. Article 268 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union confers jurisdiction over disputes relating to claims for non-contractual liability damages caused by union institution or their staff under Article 340, paragraph 2 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union to the Court of Justice. Case law of the Court of Justice of the European Union can be found online at the Curia webpage. C indicates that this decision was delivered by the Court of Justice. T indicates decisions delivered by the General Court. F indicates decisions of the former Civil Service Tribunal.